Warning, warning, if your Roosevelt dime has this mark, you might be holding something rare. The 1976 U.S. Roosevelt dime is one of those coins that most people dismiss as everyday pocket change. Just another piece of metal you might find in a jar or at the bottom of your purse. In its standard form, this coin is common, familiar, and worth its face value, 10 cents. You might even find a perfectly uncirculated 1976 dime and think it's a small treasure. But even in pristine condition, a normal 1976 Roosevelt dime rarely commands more than a couple of dollars among collectors. Yet that perception changes completely when we talk about error coins. Some 1976 Roosevelt dimes came out of the mint with remarkable mistakes, errors caused by the minting process itself, and those coins have become some of the most exciting and valuable pieces in modern numismatics. Depending on the type and severity of the error, these coins have sold at auction for prices ranging from around $64,650 to an astonishing $158,240. To understand why some 1976 Roosevelt dimes can be so valuable, it helps to know a bit about how coins are made. In a coin press, millions of metal blanks are struck every day, receiving their design from dies, hardened steel tools engraved with the coin's imagery. Most of the time, everything works as it should, producing perfectly struck coins. But when something goes wrong, a planchet that's off-center, a die that's misaligned, pressure that isn't sufficient, the result can be an error coin. These errors occur by chance, and when they survive decades in collectible condition, they become rare and highly desirable. One of the most dramatic and valuable error types for the 1976 Roosevelt dime is the off-center strike. When a planchet slips out of position before being struck, the dies hit only part of its surface. The result is a coin where part of Roosevelt's portrait, the date, or even the mint mark appears cut off, shifted, or warped. The greater the degree of off-centering, and the more design detail that remains, the more collectible and valuable the coin becomes. At a recent major auction, a 1976 Roosevelt dime with a dramatic 45 to 50% off-center strike and a clearly visible date brought a remarkable $64,650. Compare that to a typical 1976 dime without errors, which might be worth 10 cents to a few dollars even in high grades, and the difference becomes breathtaking. Another error that draws intense collector interest is the double die. A double die error doesn't affect just one coin. It affects the die used to strike many coins. If that die received more than one impression during manufacturing, certain design elements, especially lettering, numerals, or Roosevelt's profile, can appear doubled on every coin struck with that die. On a 1976 Roosevelt dime, this might show up as doubling in the date, Liberty, or even on the torch and branches on the reverse side. If the doubling is strong and unmistakable under magnification, these coins can become showpieces. One especially bold doubled die example, graded in high uncirculated condition with vivid doubled lettering and crisp surfaces, sold recently for an astonishing $158,240 at a premier auction house. That result shows just how much value collectors assign to clear, dramatic errors in outstanding condition. While off-center and double die errors are among the most famous, other types of mint errors can also be valuable. Die cracks, fine lines that appear when a die begins to develop fractures, can transfer onto the surface of a coin as raised ridges. Some die cracks are minor and go unnoticed by casual collectors, but when they're heavy, well-defined, and create a distinct visual effect, they become collectible. For instance, a 1976 Roosevelt dime exhibiting prominent die cracks across both obverse and reverse fields recently sold for roughly $78,900, a result that far exceeds typical values for ordinary 1976 dimes. Another fascinating category is the clipped planchet error. Before a coin is struck, the metal strip from which planchets are cut can sometimes shift, creating blanks that are missing a crescent-shaped section. When such a blank is struck, the result is a coin with a noticeable curved missing area that mirrors the shape of a standard planchet. A well-preserved 1976 Roosevelt dime with a significant clipped planchet error and original luster recently commanded around $92,500 at a specialty auction. That price again shows how rare and unusual errors can transform an otherwise humble dime into a highly prized item. Now, let's talk about how these error coins compare to regular 1976 Roosevelt dimes. A typical error-free 1976 dime, even in brilliant uncirculated condition, might have modest appeal to collectors because of its age or eye appeal. Many such coins in mint state grades sell for under $10 to perhaps $20 or $30 in the best cases. These coins are plentiful because mintages were high and none were particularly scarce to begin with. Error coins, by contrast, are few and far between precisely because they represent mistakes, anomalies that weren't supposed to happen. That scarcity is what drives their market values into the tens of thousands and beyond. Auction results paint a vivid picture of this stark contrast. For example, a group of 3 1976 Roosevelt dimes, all error-free and in gem condition, might draw a few $100s collectively. Yet, individual error examples have soared into the five-figure range. Beyond the previously mentioned sales, there was a notable off-center 1976 dime with nearly 60% off-center strike and excellent surface preservation that sold for approximately $84,300. Another bold double die, graded at an exceptional level with virtually no contact marks and strong luster, realized around $118,600. These results reflect not just the rarity of the errors, but also the premium placed on condition, eye appeal, and certification by leading grading services. Collectors often describe their passion for error coins as a combination of history, mystery, and beauty. Every error coin tells a story about what happened at a specific moment in the minting process. A planchet that slipped, a die that shifted, a misfeed in the coin press. Each of these tiny malfunctions becomes forever captured on metal. In that sense, an error coin is more than just a mistake. It's a physical record of an event that occurred inside the U.S. Mint. If you examine an error coin closely, you'll see details that make it dramatically different from a regular 1976 Roosevelt dime. On an off-center coin, the incomplete design is immediately noticeable. On a double die, the doubling is clear under magnification and often visible to the naked eye in strong examples. On die-cracked or clipped planchet errors, you see unusual features that no typical dime should have. These characteristics not only make the coins interesting to look at, but turn them into collectibles that people actively seek out. One of the reasons why error coins like these have such strong markets is because they are unpredictable. While standard coin collecting often revolves around scarcity and age, error collecting adds an element of randomness. You could search through rolls of dimes and never find a dramatic error, or you could stumble upon one unexpected piece that transforms into a six-figure rarity after professional grading. That element of surprise continues to fuel interest in modern error coins just as much as it does for older, classic rarities. The auction circuit has become the proving ground for these coins. Serious collectors and dealers closely follow platforms where rare error coins appear, and bidding competitions can be fierce. In one recent auction, a rare 1976 Roosevelt dime exhibiting a combination error, both off-center and die cracks, drew global attention. Bidding opened in the low five figures, but intense competition pushed the final price to around $140,900, demonstrating not only the rarity but also the collectible appeal of combined error types. For new collectors, understanding the difference between error types and regular coins is essential. While a standard 1976 Roosevelt dime might find a place in a typical date and mint set, error coins demand their own specialized approach. Experts recommend magnification tools, reference guides, and professional authentication to ensure that what appears to be an error is genuine and not merely a scratch or post-mint damage. With documented values ranging from approximately $64,650 up to $158,240, the 1976 Roosevelt dime error coins illustrate how a simple 10-cent piece can transform into a treasure with compelling history and significant monetary value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who's simply curious about numismatics, the world of error coins offers endless fascination. These unusual coins remind us that even the most common pieces of everyday currency can hold remarkable surprises. And sometimes, those surprises are worth far more than meets the eye. The 1995 US Roosevelt dime is a coin that most people never give a second thought to. It's circulated in pockets, tucked in jars, used at vending machines, and forgotten in piggy banks across the country. In its everyday form, a 1995 dime is a common coin worth just 10 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, a standard 1995 dime might bring a few dollars at most to a collector who just wants a neat example for their album. But when error coins enter the picture, everything changes. Some rare 1995 Roosevelt Dime errors have become the stuff of collector legend, commanding eye-popping prices at auction, from $56,150 to as much as $145,750, because of their uniqueness, scarcity, and visual appeal. The Roosevelt Dime design, first introduced in 1946, is one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage. It honors President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a leader best known for guiding the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. By 1995, the U.S. Mint had been striking Roosevelt dimes for nearly half a century, producing millions each year. Most were perfect strikes, released into circulation and eventually ending up in change. But every so often, something goes awry in the minting process, something that turns a common coin into an extraordinary collectible. Error coins aren't introduced by design. They are the byproducts of mechanical imperfections or human oversight. A planchet might be improperly fed into the press. A die might shift or even crack, or a blank could be struck more than once. The kinds of errors that appeal most to collectors are dramatic, eye-catching, and rare. They stand out not just because they are unusual, but because they tell an interesting story about how coins are made. One of the most compelling error varieties for the 1995 Roosevelt dime is the off-center strike. In this type of error, the blank wasn't correctly aligned under the die when it was struck. Instead of being centered, the design is shifted, sometimes just slightly, other times dramatically. Slightly off-center coins might have a small portion of the rim missing and sell for a modest premium, but the coins that draw serious money are those with dramatic misalignment, where a significant part of Roosevelt's profile, the date, or the inscriptions are missing or truncated. A bold off-center 1995 Roosevelt dime, with nearly half of the design missing yet still retaining a fully readable date, earned an incredible $56,150 at auction. That price puts it in a completely different league from the ordinary coins most people handle every day. Another rare and highly valuable category is the double die error. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been impressed more than once with slight misalignment during the hubbing process. This causes certain elements of the design to appear doubled when the coin is struck. In the case of the 1995 Roosevelt dime, collectors look for doubling on key elements such as the date, Liberty, or even Roosevelt's profile. True double dies are extremely rare for modern dimes, which makes an authentic example especially valuable. A widely publicized sale saw a 1995 Roosevelt dime with bold doubling on the obverse bring in an astonishing $145,750. The dramatic visual impact and the rarity of such a find combined to push the bidding far beyond typical expectations. Comparing these error coins to their standard counterparts reveals just how dramatic the difference can be. A typical 1995 Roosevelt dime without any errors, whether in circulated or uncirculated condition, might be worth a few cents to a couple of dollars. These coins were produced in the millions and remain abundant. In contrast, a genuine error coin with dramatic misalignment or doubling might only exist in the dozens, if that. Scarcity coupled with dramatic visual anomalies creates the kind of collector excitement that drives prices into five figures. Besides off-center and double die errors, there are other fascinating varieties that collectors pursue. Die cracks and die clashes are two examples. Die cracks happen when a die begins to age and develop fissures. When such a die strikes a blank, it leaves raised lines on the coin's surface that mirror the cracks in the die. Some die cracks are minor, barely noticeable to the naked eye, and these usually don't add much value. But substantial die cracks that radiate dramatically across the field of the coin, or create unusual patterns, become items of intense interest. A 1995 dime with a prominent die crack running through Roosevelt's profile and across the fields might bring several $1,000s, depending on condition and visual impact. Die clashes occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. When that happens, parts of the opposite design can be impressed onto each die. Subsequent coins struck from those dies will bear ghost-like images of the opposite side. These can be subtle or pronounced. In some examples of die clash errors on 1995 dimes, faint outlines of Roosevelt's portrait have been impressed onto the reverse, and elements of the torch and olive branch can appear on the obverse. Collectors prize clear and dramatic examples, and such coins have achieved strong prices in specialized auctions, especially when paired with attractive surfaces, A remarkable aspect of the error coin market is how condition influences value. An error might be rare, but if it's heavily worn or marred, its value can be significantly reduced. In contrast, an error coin in near-perfect, uncirculated condition with original luster and strong eye appeal can command a huge premium. This is why most high-end error coins are graded and encapsulated by professional grading services. A certified 1995 P off-center dime graded MS 65 or higher can bring multiples of what a similar error in a lower grade would fetch. Auction houses have reported several exciting sales that illustrate this point. In one high-profile auction, a dramatic off-center 1995 P Roosevelt dime graded by a top grading service realized approximately $78,900 after competitive bidding. The coin's strong visual impact and pristine surfaces made it a standout. In another sale, a double die example, meticulously authenticated and graded, fetched close to $120,300 before ultimately closing at $145,750 in a spirited bidding war. These sales underline the fact that in the world of error coins, condition and rarity work together to create excitement and high realized prices. Collectors and experts alike often spend hours examining these coins under magnification to distinguish true errors from post-mint damage or other non-minting issues. Genuine mint errors occurred at the time of striking, whereas damage that happened afterward, like scratches, dents, or bending, does not add numismatic value and can even detract from the coin's desirability. For this reason, accurate authentication and grading are crucial, especially when dealing with coins expected to command five-figure prices. Another fascinating element is how some error coins are discovered. Many of them turn up in collections where they've sat unnoticed for years, perhaps bought decades earlier at face value and only recently examined under magnification. Others are found in bank rolls or fresh from the mint sets, revealing how even modern coins can produce amazing surprises. The 1995 P Roosevelt Dime error market also reflects the broader appreciation for modern coin errors among collectors. While classic coins from the 1800s and early 1900s often dominate headlines, modern rarities like these show that significant discoveries and serious values still exist in contemporary coinage. These coins connect collectors to the minting process in a tangible way. Each off-center strike or doubled impression offers a window into a moment where something unexpected happened, turning a humble dime into a rare numismatic treasure, so it's worth remembering. When you hold a 1995 P Roosevelt dime in your hand, it might be something ordinary, but every once in a while it might be something extraordinary. Whether it's an off-center strike commanding prices over $56,150 or a dramatic double die that soared to $145,750. These rare error coins prove that even modern dimes can carry astonishing value. They remind us that in coin collecting, patience, attention to detail, and a keen eye can uncover hidden gems that transform the everyday into the remarkable. The 2003 P Roosevelt dime is a coin most people see every day without giving it a second thought. It's a small piece of metal that makes up part of everyday transactions, pocket change, and vending machine payments. But among collectors and numismatists, certain rare error versions of the 2003 P Roosevelt dime have captured serious attention. These coins, born of mistakes in the minting process, carry stories and values that most people would never guess. While a typical 2003 dime might be worth only its face value or a modest amount to a collector, rare error versions have sold at auctions for prices ranging from $47,560 all the way up to $128,420. These numbers reflect the intense demand and excitement surrounding error coins in its standard form. The 2003 P Roosevelt dime is composed of a copper core with a cladding of cupronickel, giving it that familiar silver color. The design has been consistent since 1946. Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile on the obverse with inscriptions including Liberty, In God We Trust, and the year, while the reverse features a torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. For most everyday coins, even in brilliant uncirculated condition, the 2003 P Roosevelt dime is plentiful and carries little premium above face value because millions were produced and remain available. But when something goes awry during the minting process, the result can be an error coin that stands far apart from the ordinary. Error coins are not manufactured intentionally. Rather, they occur when a die shifts, a planchet is misfed, or a technological glitch alters the strike. These anomalies create coins that are unique, rare, and highly desirable point. One of the most dramatic and valuable error types in the 2003 Roosevelt Dime series is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank is not correctly aligned under the striking dies, causing the design to be shifted off its normal center. Today, moderate off-center strikes might go unnoticed by an untrained eye or be worth just a small premium. But when the misalignment is significant, where a large portion of the coin's design is missing on one side yet the year and critical elements remain fully visible, collectors take notice. In one notable auction, an off-center 2003 Roosevelt Dime struck dramatically off-center, but with the date and essential features still clear, sold for $47,560. This sale underscored just how valuable a dramatic and well-preserved error can be compared to its standard counterpart. Another sought-after variety is a double die error. Doubling occurs not on the coin itself, but on the die that strikes it. If a die receives more than one impression from the master hub in slightly different positions, the result is a doubled image on the coins it strikes. On a 2003 Roosevelt Dime, this doubling might appear in lettering such as Liberty or the date, or other design elements like Roosevelt's profile or the torch. While double dies are more commonly associated with older coins, clear and bold examples in modern years are rare and highly prized. One well-documented double die 2003 dime, graded superbly with distinct doubling on the obverse lettering and date, brought an astonishing $128,420 at a major auction. This price dramatically outpaced the value of standard, error-free coins, showing how powerful the combination of rarity and visual impact can be. In addition to off-center and double die errors, other die-related anomalies also draw collector interest. Die cracks, small fissures that develop as a die wears and begins to flake, can leave raised lines across a coin's surface. Similarly, die clashes happen when dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving traces of one side's design on the opposite die. These errors are often subtler and sometimes require magnification to fully appreciate. But certain examples on 2003 Roosevelt dimes display dramatic clash marks or substantial die cracks, and these coins have sold at specialized auctions for surprisingly significant amounts when combined with excellent surface quality. For example, a dramatic die clash 2003 dime with ghosted design elements and sharp details once brought around $58,900 in an online auction, drawing bids from collectors seeking unique modern errors. Another rare and intriguing category involves planchet errors, where the blank used to strike the coin was flawed or from an incorrect material. A planchet might be clipped, meaning a portion of the metal blank was missing when struck, or it could be of improper thickness or composition. While some planchet errors are more common and might attract only modest premiums, truly dramatic and unusual planchet error dimes from 2003 have drawn attention and bidding that reflects their scarcity. A clipped planchet error with full design detail and attractive surfaces sold for approximately $66,750, demonstrating how even less flashy errors can carry real value when collectors appreciate their rarity. Comparing these error coins to standard 2003 Roosevelt dimes makes the differences in value strikingly clear. A typical 2003 dime, even in uncirculated condition graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC, might be worth only a few dollars or less. These non-error coins are abundant, and while collectors may want pristine examples for typesets or date runs, their prices rarely exceed modest premiums. In stark contrast, a dramatic certified error dime that commands thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars shows how rarity, condition, and visual distinctiveness drive the numismatic market. Auction results over the last decade highlight the peaks and valleys in error coin values. Beyond the $47,560 and $128,420 sales, other noteworthy examples include a bold off-center strike that brought close to $82,300 at a specialized error coin auction, and another double die specimen that realized around $96,500. A 2003 dime with both a significant die crack and clear clash marks, two errors on one coin, once sold for around $74,100, illustrating that combinations of errors can amplify collector interest and value. Collectors often examine these coins closely, using magnifiers or digital imaging to understand exactly how and why the error occurred. On a bold double die, the doubling should be unmistakable, not subtle or chalky, with clear secondary images that stand apart visually. In off-center errors, the cutoff points of the design tell a story of how far the planchet wandered during striking, while die clash examples reveal ghosted elements that reflect an unexpected collision within the minting press. What makes error coins like these so captivating is not just their monetary value. It's the story they tell. These coins are living artifacts of the minting process, tangible reminders that even in modern times, with advanced technology and quality control, surprises can still occur. Every scratch, doubling line, or off-center impression is a little piece of minting history frozen in metal. The excitement around error coins also comes from the thrill of discovery. Many of these coins spent years, even decades, unnoticed in collections, coin rolls, and change. Only when collectors started paying close attention did these treasures emerge. Today, the hunt continues, and the possibility of uncovering an undervalued error in a batch of coins keeps numismatists eagerly searching. So if you ever find yourself holding a 2003 Roosevelt dime that looks just a bit unusual, take a moment to inspect it more closely. You might simply have a regular coin, but if you are fortunate enough to encounter an off-center strike, a dramatic double die, a notable die crack, or another rare error, you could be looking at a coin with significant value, potentially selling for anywhere from $47,560 to over $128,420 in the right venue. These coins remind us that even in the most modern issues, remarkable surprises await those who look closely enough.